This is AUGforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Repay. Repay offers omni-channel integrated payment solutions for Acumatica users. Whether you are making B2B payments or collecting them, Repay is your full-service payments provider. Power up your payments to empower your business and accelerate the AP and AR payment flow through one seamless integration. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is Velixo. Velixo is an award-winning provider of Excel-based reporting solutions for Acumatica. With Velixo, you can build financial, project, and other business reports in Excel with live Acumatica data in just a few minutes and get the answers you need. If you know Excel, you can do it. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. Guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and this is episode number 85, Scott Rutkowski, COO at Tuxton. Scott, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So starting off with the brief origin story like we do with all of our guests, maybe you can give us where you grew up, where you went to college, and what that first job out of college was like for you.
Yeah. Born and raised out of Buffalo, New York. I went to the University of Buffalo for finance. Out of school, I dabbled in being a financial advisor. Learned very quickly that that's a very sales-oriented position. That's a lot about who you know versus the products have very little to do with how well you actually do in that business. I went and worked after that. I went and worked at Citigroup for about 5 years or so, doing profit and loss reports. Worked directly with the traders on Wall Street. From there, I kind of switched paths and went to Ingram Micro, which is obviously a tech company based out of California. I worked out of a location here in Buffalo. Was there for about 5 years. Was in charge of all of their processes really throughout the world. So we ran projects that, again, touched, besides Antarctica, pretty much touched all the continents regarding whether that be the ERP. So we were running Microsoft Dynamics at that time. So that was a big stage.
Which flavor of Dynamics? I'm curious.
It was 360.
Like the BC or the old Navision or
no, yeah, the BC,
BC. Okay.
Yeah, we were coming from an old DOS-based system, all jump codes getting you around, and I think we were at that point. I think we were like a Fortune 68. I think is where we were, and we quickly realized that wasn't going to suffice in the new modern world of having hundreds of different resellers, which kind of got me into the role I am now. Obviously, understanding so many of the different VARs, the programs, the products, and again working with all the C-level people down to the sales support was really a great experience. We think very highly of of that company, of the dynamics. Like I said, I worked for Figure for a while doing the banking thing, and you can kind of learn very quickly, what's rewarding to you in life, what's making a difference for people, seeing how that impacts their days, their world, everything they do daily, versus being a spoke in the wheel where your job is really just to maintain financials, and your accolades are keeping a status quo, versus being project process type of manager, where your job is figure out how to do it better, how to cut costs, how to increase revenue. That's rewarding, right? Being a spoke in the wheel where your job is to hopefully maintain is not very rewarding. And
So
that's
you
kind of
strike me as a hands-on person who likes to get stuff done.
yeah. I'm a people person. I think first and foremost, I think that's got me to where I am. Getting to know people is everything, right? Everybody sees change differently, and we're in a world where, especially post COVID and this new norm world, it's all about change and doing things differently. Any company that's not changing, in my opinion, is going backwards. But how people respond to that change is unique to that individual, right? Even though most people will tell you like, oh, I'm excited by the change, right? Their actions often are met by different than what their words are. So really empowering people
I always
to be
like
a part of
asking
that
too. So
process
like,
is important.
with that kind of personality, that seems like a good personality for ERP. But out of college, going into the finance area, did you even know what ERP was at the time?
No, no, no,
And how did you
no.
discover it? So
Yeah,
where did you first touch an ERP system and kind of discover that you liked that type of process improvement, that kind of thing?
yeah. I'd say again, it really took form more at Ingram Micro for me. Like I said, working at Citigroup, they had a custom ERP, totally unique to them. Uh, was pretty strong for what they were doing. Ingram, like I said, was a really old DOS based system. We brought them onto Dynamics. Dynamics worked okay in my opinion. It's a good platform, not super dynamic, very hard and time consuming to customize it. And that's really where, again, based on those two things, me being a process person, being all about change, having that ability to work inside of a system where I need to be able to maneuver, be agile, and work quickly, I wanted it to align myself with a system that gave me that flexibility, because I'm, again, as a change agent, you want to be able to tailor processes and do improvements based on people and what they're doing. You don't want to be boxed in by a system and what its capabilities are. You want to be boxed in based on your ideas and how far you can take it. So in terms of Dynamics, I think it was a good system. I just didn't think it had necessarily the agility that Acumatica was.
So then after Ingram, you go to Superior Lubricants, and
Correct.
we're talking because of episode 82 with Justin,
Right.
and you're kind of picking up. So he gave us the Superior Lubricant story, but it's not. I think that's when you got introduced to Acumatica.
It is, yeah.
So maybe you give us a little recap there. If you want details, you can listen to episode 82. But go ahead and give us a recap of how you got
Yeah.
introduced to Acumatica.
Yeah, I came on with Superior Lubricants about 5 years ago. Right out of the gate, they were looking for a new system that was really the dawning of the role, selecting a system. So really, I had seen many systems before. Acumatica, once we were kind of showed it, was a no-brainer, right? The ability, like I spoke about before. So Superior Lubricants is, in my mind, a mini conglomerate of sorts. There's about 18 companies inside of it, running from environmental companies, distribution, manufacturing, rental companies, so property companies. So we couldn't have a system that could only focus on manufacturing or retail. We needed something that could be dynamic enough to do all of those things. So really, where Acumatica sold me was all the ideas of being able to build onto it, right? Having all the open APIs, pretty much having a bare bones structure in place for us to build onto and not keep us boxed in, right? We, like most companies, right? We kind of have a vision for the next, 5 or 10 years. Even after 5 or 10 years, that plan is going to become docile, and you need to be able to maneuver. Our CEO is very intelligent, very hungry. He's always looking for the next thing, and it might not be in any of those sectors that I just mentioned. So again, we needed that flexibility. So Acumatica really blew us away. We rolled it out, like I said, for about all of those 18 companies, and again, from distribution to manufacturing to service to retail. Some of mostly around the US. We have one of our Canadian companies also doing it, so we got to use the multi-currency functionality. But that's really what spurred and created Tuxton. Was we implemented across these 18 companies. This, like I said, the system sold itself. We kind of ended up self-implementing that. That I would say was not necessarily part of the plan to self-implement that. That we were kind of forced into that position where we got to know very quickly the system. So pretty much, right from the get-go, we started we started hiring a team to be able to self-implement all of these companies, right? There's hundreds of employees. We wanted to be able to do it in a quick time frame, so we're not, booking journal entries from one company to another. We want to be able to have, one P&L, to be able to look at it based on the companies, by the salespeople, by the cost centers, and not having to use, I think we had probably 10 different systems when it all started. Hence, you're getting 10 different sets of accountants, 10 different sets of client services, 10 different sets of, this role and that role, because each company had its own system. That's very costly. We got lucky that we wrapped up probably 85% of those companies pre-COVID, and thank God that we did, because once COVID hit, I mean, we, just like many companies, we were essential, but we had some of our workforce have to be remote, and having that ability to get to that internet wherever we were and get on the system saved us. We couldn't afford, to be overstaffed, and we were able to have before. So we were again, so we didn't have to let go of workers. I mean, that's amazing. We made more money in COVID than we did prior to COVID, and it was really a lot to do with what the system enabled us to do. We had our costs so under control that our sales were really, again, because of being in oil and energy industry, or you still needed cars. They weren't going as very many places as they were, but we were able to cut our costs because of, we didn't need, remote people in all of these different locations having 5 people that work on this system, 5 people work there. We were able to kind of join those teams together, have cross functionality where one person could learn 3 roles, because it didn't really matter what company they were working with. The process was the same. So with that, we were able to streamline. We were able to kind of take advantage of that downtime of COVID, really look over everything that we were doing. You kind of get lackadaisical when you're doing well, of not getting into the weeds of your costs. So we're able to look more into those, like I said, streamlined processes that led us to having, drivers going out with tablets, doing the barcoding in warehouses, things that, we had the time, I'd say, to do before. We necessarily didn't have the kick in the butt to do it, because, when you're doing well, all's fine and dandy. But we, as business declined during COVID, like it did for many, we were able to take that as an opportunity to save costs, change processes, and came out of it stronger than ever. And I think for many companies, COVID was a blessing and a curse, in that it enabled you to do a lot of things if you're able to come out of it on the other side.
So remind me the month. So Justin said this on episode 82, but remind me the month that you went live with Acumatica Superior Lubricants.
Superior Lubricants itself went live January 1st of 21. Okay. But we have, like I said, we have 18 companies. Superior was the second to last company, just because it was one of the biggest companies to do it. So in that COVID time, that's when we had time to do some of that barcoding, do some of that down and dirty work, because it's a very, there's transportation, there's dispatch, there's multifacets of it.
How about the first company? When did that one go live?
The first company went live, I want to say it was October of 2017.
Okay.
And that was an environmental services company. And that was a company that we acquired at the time, and we kind of just selected the system. So we said, it was a smaller company. This is a great place to test, right? This isn't a 100-person company. It's a much smaller company. Let's see how this goes. And it went great. It was funny when I remember walking into this company, and you couldn't see desks. It was papers and sticky notes as far as the eye could see, and you knew right away there's room for improvement here, and that's certainly what we were able to do.
That's cool. Yeah. So, I was trying to pepper Justin with this, but he's like, I think you need to talk to Scott. So I'm talking to Scott now.
Yeah.
And, part of what intrigues me about, then we go from Superior Lubricants to Tuxton.
Yep.
Very recently this year, 2022. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, one thing I was wondering, you strike me as someone who likes challenges. You start in finance, you get into Micro, you could discover ERP, and, you just keep moving. I'm curious, like, if you can, like, how much of this Tuxton idea was Superior Lubricants and how much it was, we got to give Scott something to do because he's getting bored.
It's a good question. I think a lot of it, and again, we had conversations about it really for about the last year or so when we kind of put a wrap on our companies, right? Kind of the epiphany was, what, we're pretty good at this. We're able to roll out companies, in a couple of months, and it doesn't really matter what business line they're in. We should probably just keep going. We shouldn't stop with just ourselves. We've got a team of strong developers, project managers, and again, that was kind of, not the idea out of the gate, but we can spend the time. We got lean certified project managers. Again, some of the best developers I think that I've seen, and I think for a lot of companies, right, IT, business intelligence, project managers even are usually an expense to the company, right? That's typically how it goes. They're either enabling or allowing a lot of the business to happen. And we kind of thought of this as, let's turn the tables on it and say, why couldn't that be a profit center in and of itself? You have a bunch of smart people that have been able to take the system, make it so dynamic that we're able to cut costs, streamline processes, and do things we've never been able to do before. Why stop? Why pigeonhole it? Why not keep going? Why not keep growing? Why not make it better? Why not pass that information on to other people looking for this system? There's other conglomerates out there. There's other, we of course our micro niche is obviously in the lubricants area, but we have customers that are not in that market, because we found quickly it almost doesn't matter what industry you're in. That's the point of Acumatica, is that it is anything you need it to be. You don't build your business around the system builds around your business. So once we kind of got that idea, be able to kind of figure out the framework, there was really nothing holding us back. Being able to go into meetings, whether it be with internal customers, which are, internal customers, meaning other employees within all of those companies, or external customers of Tuxton, being able to walk in and pretty much, not be scared of any question that they're going to have, and just have the confidence of there's a solution for that. Do I have to know what it is right away? No, I don't, but I'm confident that between our team and Acumatica's infrastructure, there's a solution for pretty much any problem. And that confidence is kind of what led to this. Of, we didn't need to be a reseller, right? So for Acumatica to allow us to become a reseller in a community that, they said, we typically, you typically have to be a reseller already to be a reseller of Acumatica. And we kind of pose it as, well, we've we've sold to 18 companies, right? We haven't sold to just, we've rolled it out. We've done this 18 times. We haven't done this once. We're not just a customer. We've been the implementation specialist. We know all the tools. We know all the tricks. We know all the code. We know all the framework. We've had to sell it to internal people, and while that might not make you money in terms of annual, there's sometimes the internal customers can be tougher than the external, because they're the ones that are willing to fight you on it. They know you, and they're willing to open up. So once we're able to put some of those minds at peace, again, being able to go in and feel confident in your people, processes, and tools, right? Those are the big three. It was kind of a no-brainer for us to, let's kind of, again, flip this idea on its head and try to take an expense and turn it into a revenue stream.
So I like that overall idea, turn it into a revenue stream. Then what about the mechanics of it? And if I'm getting too far under the hood, feel free to say I can't discuss, but the mechanics of it, did you realize pretty quickly you needed a separate legal entity for like liability and the kind of insurance and stuff you need for consulting? Was that pretty early on a realization this is going to have to be a separate company?
It didn't necessarily need to become, a separate company. We actually had the Tuxton name for, it's actually a name that we've had for many, many years. It used to be a polish. If you look up on Amazon, you'll see it under polishes. This is something that you wouldn't buy in today's world. But again, we don't like to, so like from a IT business intelligence team, I never really liked the idea of considering myself part of a single entity, right? My entity is everyone. I work with everyone. I don't focus on any individual company, whether that's internal or external. We really wanted to create a different name for the sake of, we work as a consultant and as a provider and as a partner for everyone. I don't want to be pigeonholed into, my name is affiliated with this company, because that's not the truth. The truth is it depends on the needs of that day, the needs of whatever customer it is I'm talking to. So it made more sense to branch out, right, move some of those expenses for those people that are doing those things out. And again,
and then would you still do work for Superior Lubricants? You just treat them as another client at that point,
right? Yep. Yeah, that's right. We still do work for them, right? Obviously, it's much less, as they've grown on Superior. I mean, commonly, just like any customer, a lot of the work is done up front. We're always revisiting processes and challenging the status quo, just like we do with external customers, to make sure that they're growing, any new ideas that are coming up. And I think a big piece of what we found, being a customer of Acumatica while we were working with, a VAR of our own, is one of the biggest, most important pieces of being that VAR is adding the value, right? Of having somebody tell me, what don't I know, right? I don't know what I don't know. And as now a VAR, I want to be that for partners of ours, right? So as we learned being a customer, you quickly learn all the best things about VARs and all the worst things about VARs, and what you would want if you had your dream VAR. So we built our dream VAR. And that's kind of where Tuxton came from. We built the company that we wish we had that we'd been working with.
So what are some of those dream things? What are some of those core pieces that you put into place in the building of Tuxton?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say first and foremost is, one of the big things that we always asked is, what are other people doing? What are other people doing that we're not? What are things that we're missing? And what are things that we don't know what we don't know? Is there other functionality, like, learn our business and help us understand, like, what are other options that Acumatica can solve for us? And we always kind of felt like that wasn't there, and we ended up, like I said, self-implementing ourselves, because we understood obviously our business very well. And then once we understood the system very well, then it became very clear. So what we want to be for our partners is an actual business partner. We want to know their business. We don't want to just know Acumatica and its functionalities. We want to know, how does your business function? What is the day to day? I'm a big proponent of, right? I want to be in house with our customers to see what they're doing. I want to meet the people, right? It's where is your printers? Where is this? And you would think it's things that don't matter, but that's where you find the secrets. That's where you find the details of what makes a company and what costs money, what costs company money. That's when, the warehouse guy in the back will tell you the true story about what's going on. And when you kind of have a VAR that's at a distance, it's hard to do that. So we're big on, we want to travel, we want to meet everybody, we want to be a part of that process. It's one of those things, right? You don't want to tell somebody to do their job if you've never seen it done or you've never done it yourself. That's what gains you respect. That's what gives the partner confidence in what they're doing. And that's what we've
How do you
been able
sell
to
that
do.
then? Because I think a lot of companies look at a VAR and they think, I know my business, Acumatica, I need you for Acumatica. I don't want to pay to bring you on site too much. I don't want to pay
Yep.
for you to learn my business. I don't want to pay, to walk you over to the copier, because I don't care if you know that or not.
Yeah.
How do you sell that idea to actually get someone to pay you to do that?
Yeah, I think that, so the big piece of that is really, how big do you want your future to be, right? How much do you want to take on versus, right? There's always going to be partners that are exactly what you want, exactly what you're defining, that you give them the spreadsheet of, these are all the things I want. These are explicit, line by line of what I want. Those are going to happen, and it's okay. But the ones that are really looking to take their business to the next level are the ones that they're asking questions and looking for advice. Again, we don't want to be a VAR like everybody else. So in a lot of those scenarios, we will not be interested in the business. It has to be a relationship for us, just like it's a relationship for them, right?
Interesting.
Meaning we've been lucky enough to have a successful business. We want to work with other customers that want to work with us, meaning we bring a lot of value to the table. We want customers that not only realize that there's a lot of opportunity, but are willing to listen about ways to do it. And that doesn't mean we're going to tell you how to run your business, because that's not our job. They're always going to be the subject matter experts. Our job is to listen, to learn, and to advise and make some recommendations, or at least, if nothing else, to say, I think what you're doing is great. Have you considered this? Right? I know another customer similar to what you're doing. They're doing this. Is this of interest to you? Or I know, in 2022 R2, we're coming out with a Amazon connector. You mentioned that you've been on Amazon for a while. Would you like to be in a beta test for that? It's, again, having that partner that's thinking the next step ahead for me.
So maybe it sounds like part of the way you're selling it is almost you got to make the client sell themselves. That they're the appropriate client for you. We're not just taking anyone. We want to hear that you're really looking to make improvements, that you're not just checking the box on an ERP system, which a lot of people are. We really want the digital transformation mindset type of a client, someone who truly wants to use the system to make an impact on their business. You got to sell me almost,
right.
For me to sell you.
Yeah. I mean, especially, in the early goings of a new company, right? We want to be able to grow out our portfolio in a way that speaks volumes about what we're able to bring to the table, right? We want to be able to have those customer stories about how not only Acumatica made my life a lot better, but what did Tuxton do? How were they different than any other VAR? Why do we choose them? And that's because of the value add, right? We don't want to be just kind of as our slogan is, we don't want to be. We're bringing value add back to the reseller market, because I think that's something that's often overlooked. We don't want to just get that sale and then wave and see it at renewal time, because that's honestly how we felt at times. So we don't want to be that for others. It makes Acumatica look bad. It makes us look bad. We want to be in that relationship with you. That can
I
be
agree
done
with you. That you look at any
contracts or whatnot.
You look at any good success story, Acumatica customer success story, And the VAR is always a big piece of that equation. If you listen closely to it or read it closely, that's always a big part of it. It's not just the software, like you're saying. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I know when we first talked to Acumatica, right? They're like, we don't want, John who walks his dog to start selling Acumatica, because if something goes wrong with John who walks his dog, you know, that makes Acumatica look bad. It does, of course it makes John look bad, but it makes Acumatica look like, well, the system's not good. Well, no, the system was good. The person that was running the system for you was not good. So that was a lot of what we had to prove to Acumatica, that we as a team, as a company, are good, and that we could be trusted to take partners to the next level with their businesses. And we had years of data to kind of prove what our worth was. It was a big, obviously, compliment when you reached out to Justin. We were certainly proud of him, the things that he's been able to do. He was our first developer that we ever hired, and for a company that wasn't a reseller, to hire a developer, we weren't in the code. I mean, Acumatica is very no code friendly. So in the early years of it, right, I was doing some of it myself, putting things on the mobile app, mini customizations, the dashboards, the generic inquiries, things I think that when people look at a system from the outside, they go, wow, that looks complicated. Well, once you get in the system, you realize that this isn't hard. To be able to build a generic inquiry is easy. It's a database at the end of the day. You're just joining tables, and it's just the user interface is so friendly that it made it very easy to learn. I know I certainly watched between the Acumatica community, the forums, just like any I'd say any smart person, what's the first thing you do when you don't know the answer? I Google the answer, right? I go Googling it, and you get to the forums and you get to the Acumatica community, and you at least find out some of the basis of how did you do that. And a lot of the codes out there, right? We aren't afraid to share a lot of what we've done. We've posted it. Just like I've said in the past, we don't want to be the typical VAR. We want to share. We want to show how we've done it and pass it along. I know, Justin, who you obviously had on, is asked, like, is it okay if I post this? And I'm all, yeah, it's okay, right? We want to share. We want to be a part of the community. But yeah, having a new developer come on that's not working with any other developers was intimidating, and it spoke leaps and bounds about him, and he's a lot of the reason why we've added multiple other developers, because of what we saw in him. It spoke volumes to Acumatica's framework and what he was able to do with it, by not being trained by anybody else in our company that could really give him that proper training of how does this all work. He was pretty fresh out of school, and he ran with it. I think similar way that I came into Acumatica, I ran with it. It's a platform that you can do it. It's a platform that you don't have to be a developer, you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to have a ton of ERP experience to be able to be good at it. It's friendly. There's so much documentation, that help guides when we're showing it to customers. It's even the little question mark in the top right of what does this field mean? We still hit that button every so often and go, like, what does this field mean? It gives you that explicit definition of what it is. So the ERP, like I said, it sells itself. It speaks volumes about itself. But the VAR, I think, is really what determines how far you are able to go with it. And if you don't have a person inside of your organization that's really that change agent for you, that's when you need a VAR that is that change agent for you.
So you spin Tuxton off, and you got on your LinkedIn profile March 2022, so just a couple months ago. And how does that work? You're still fully owned by Superior Lubricants. You're like another company in the conglomerate at this point. Yeah. Is that how it works?
Yeah. It's just
you're owned by an Acumatica customer. That is really intriguing. That's cool.
I mean, we are, again, it's like those ads you see on TV, like, not only do I sell the product, but I use it too. That's why, again, it's a super unique story. I think it's a powerful one for when we're trying to get additional customers to be like, we get it. Like when they have hesitations, like, I get it. I've been there. Like when you're looking for things to do, of like, how does this work? Like we know
Well, at the end
we've
of the
had to do
day,
it.
you're still there. I mean,
Yeah,
ultimately, you're
right.
reporting to
I
an
still want to know
Acumatica
what
customer.
I still want to know what's next. I still want to know it's luckily now, I get a lot more of the, the insider information of what's next to be able to share, um, with internal and external customers. Again, that's what I think is so different about Tuxton is that we want to be proactive. Like again, that's as you can and tell about me, that's my personality. That's our team's personality. That's why, you go from an oil company to a software company. You don't usually spin one into the other,
Yeah.
but the people spun it into the other. It doesn't matter again what segment you're in. Just like I said, doesn't matter what business line you're in. The people determine that, and our people in these departments, again, we kept adding as we needed it because again we ended up self-implementing all these companies. We grew this dynamic team out, and that team we didn't want to stop. We were hungry for more, and we just felt like it was the same way we wanted to share code on in the community. We want to share what we've learned and been able to. We want to keep thinking, right? I don't like to be bored and doing the same thing day over day. I'm one of those people that I feel like if you're not learning, you're going backwards. So I want to be learning. I want to be growing, personally and professionally. So that Tungsten has gave us that ability to do that and some. So yeah, it's been an interesting few months. I think we've even in these few months we've certainly learned a lot. It's been I have nothing but good things to say about the whole reseller VAR path that we've had to go on. I'm excited about this future. I know we have a bright one. We have a lot of interest, and again, I think we've uniquely positioned ourselves because we are a customer. We are a customer, and we are a VAR. So we understand very thoroughly what should be expected out of a system and what should be expecting out of the VAR, and we make no moans about it. When people ask questions, we understand why. If people get frustrated, we understand why. People get excited, we understand why. We don't want what happened to us, although knock on wood, what happened to us ended up leading into a brand new company because our hand was somewhat forced into it, into creating this team to be able to support this business. We want to be that for other customers. We want them to think very highly of Acumatica. We want them to feel like they're not alone in it. They can call, doesn't matter what time. Just like if it was our own internal business, you can call anytime. We're going to pick up, we're going to answer, and we're going to do everything that we can.
So as a VAR now, you can sell Acumatica. So you start building that portfolio of clients where as a VAR, Acumatica gives you a margin of the sale. So there's a whole sales process, that you weren't doing before.
Yep.
And some VARs only do services for their client list. It's like a package deal, right? I have to be your official VAR of record if I'm going to do any services work. That's just how the business model works. With Tuxton, are you taking that same approach, or are you taking hey, we'll still do services for any Acumatica customer out there, even if we're not the official VAR of record?
Yeah, no, yeah, we are open to, again, we're open to help anybody, whether they're our customer or not. We have relations with other VARs that are currently out there. We will share information. We're looking to provide for the community, not withhold information from it. Any customers that are looking for help, we will certainly take them on, work and do customization projects for them. Again, I think that it speaks volumes to our team. I know, again, something that I'll rave about Justin again, just because I think it's something that he wouldn't admit, but I will for him, is when we go on any of these boards and we see that this isn't possible, that's what fires us up to be like, we can't wait to get back on the board and go, well, here's the code of how to do it. Not only are we going to tell you that we did it, we're going to give you the code to prove that it was done. So yeah, no, we will work with other customers. We'll work with other VARs. we're all for that. Of course, we our best case scenario is that they're a partner and a customer of ours, so that we can continually give them those benefits. Because again, like I said, the best way to give you the max benefits is understanding your business and the day to day, not just your one or two asks. Right? We can help you with those one or two asks, and that's fine. And there's revenue behind it, and that's great. But to really give you the full breadth of what we can do, that's understanding your business. That's being in the weeds there with you, and that's not a waste of time to us. Whether those are billed or unbilled hours, depending on the scenario. Some of those we take as unbilled because we think it's valuable to learn your business, because what comes out of it is ideas, and perhaps some of those ideas are customizations that cost money, but we're willing to dedicate our time to learn your business, because that's what makes us an actual value-added reseller versus just a reseller. And especially as you're growing your practice, we want those customer stories to reflect accurately of what we're doing. We are not just a reseller. We are more than that.
So let me start with the small ask then. So let's say you got someone who's with another VAR, and they've got something that they haven't been able to figure out how to do. The VAR doesn't know how to do it, and they're just looking to try you out on a project. Let's stick with the development projects, because you've been bringing that up a lot. How do you engage? Are you engaging on an hourly basis? Is it a fixed fee per project basis? How would you engage on that?
Yeah, typically we work out of an hourly basis. We try and do a max level, meaning if we think a project will take 4 hours, we will say our expectation is 4 hours. If it's more than that, like, we'll cap it, meaning we don't want you to take penalty for it taking us longer than we're estimating you. That's not a fault of your own. That's a fault of us that we didn't give you the right time frame. Again,
Okay.
something that, again, as a customer, things that we saw, right, as we saw timelines, and we would challenge them and say, like, man, it seems like it would take me a lot less time to do that. We want to be able to provide that to customers as well. Say, we understand how long this will take. We'll kind of give it. There may be some variables that are unaccounted for, just like anything in life, but we want to kind of give it this timeline. If it goes under it, great. If it goes over it, no fault of yours.
So you engage on an hourly basis for like the small ask. Then what about, that company who wants you to totally know their business? Let's say you got a new lead coming in, and they don't even know about Acumatica. You're going to sell them Acumatica. How do you sell that idea, or how do you charge for that idea? I mean, is this like a package of, we come on site for a couple of days? How do you get in to find out where the copier is?
Yeah. I just use those examples because it's the silly stuff that makes a world of difference and a world of savings. I can think of a time when we were helping a customer with their inventory, in terms of they're the ones actually doing the counting, doing all of those things. They're located in Florida. We're in Buffalo, New York. But I'd been to that location several times in the past, and we're kind of reconciling the inventory for them. But they were kind of using us for service related things besides just customizations. And they're looking for an item. We see discrepancy. I go, did you check the back closet, over the, where I knew where they had been before? And they go, no. And they sent somebody over, and they're like, there they are. Right. It's just like the little things of, like, it would have taken them so much longer to go look and figure it out. And maybe we write it off, right, because they couldn't find it. And then a month later they find it, and we do the adjustment back in, right? It's that little stuff, and being able to connect printers to Device Hub to make it easier. So if they need help from a remote location, that we can be there for them. But yeah, for a customer that we're looking to onboard, or that has interest in Acumatica, yeah, we will typically go on site, because we want to. Again, typically we'll start with phone calls, right, to really gauge, if it's viable interest, or is it just like, what's your elevator pitch, if you will. If it's a serious customer, yeah, we do prefer to go on site to actually have those conversations. Again, we're just big in terms of relationship building. Again, the people in those relationships matter. That's where the trust comes from. That's where people will open up about perhaps issues they've had, places that they can grow, things that they're not willing to admit on a conference call with, 5 of their peers. They'll admit that to you when it's, when it's one-on-one, just you and them, and they know that's not gonna get back to, leadership or the president, if you will. They'll open up and tell you those secrets. Usually those are not at a cost, because again, it's we are requesting that more than the customers requesting us to come there. We're requesting to be there with you. Of course, it can always just depend on the situation. But yeah, the plan is we like to watch the process that they're currently doing. Again, not just hear what the process is that they're doing, but watch what the process is they're doing. Because again, there's always, if you give the 10 steps of the process, at the end of it, you end up finding there's 25 steps to that process. And they just, those other 15 were just like, well, it was obvious, or, I didn't think I needed to tell you about those things that make a whirlwind of difference in terms of processes and time savings. And then we'll, of course, give our plan of all the things that we think we need to do. And just like an external customer, we try to give it's always based off of hours with us, and depending on the customer, the project size and whatnot. Similarly, we look to cap those expenses of what it could be. We want to make sure we're doing a good job of sizing the project while it's happening, which again is why we like to be on site, and it's also a value add to the customer, that we don't want to quote you a number and that number come back double, right? That makes us look bad, and it's unintentional, right? We don't mean to misquote you. It's if information is left out, we can't accurately quote you. We want to be able to help you, give you an accurate quote, so that when you're making this decision, you have the information you need in terms of, any good business man's going to want to know what is this going to cost me at the end of the day. Right? We of course can always battle that with, well, what's it going to cost you if you don't do this? But anybody still, dollars and cents is always, of course, going to matter. To pull the trigger on on this deal, what will it cost me? We want it to be as accurate as possible, and that's kind of how we go about getting that information. Versus every month being like, what, here's it's going to cost $5,000 more, and another $5,000 more, and then 4 months after that, you realize, like, I don't like this partner very much. Because now I'm $20,000-$30,000 more than you said. And again, that's not somebody, that's not a partner someone's going to trust or want to work with in the future, or trust that this customization project that I say is going to take 4 hours is going to take 4 hours, and I bill you then for 10. It goes from, it starts at the beginning of how that customer is onboarded through the whole life cycle of what the expectation is of how much work they will give you, how much work you can do together. We always also want to have champions inside of the business, inside those customers, that will really drive for us, on our behalf, to keep thinking differently, who we can kind of continually work with to check and see how things are going, what's the feel of the team, what's the adoption rate, what do we think the next steps are. And again, the companies themselves are always going to be those subject matter experts of their business. We just want to have a champion inside of that business that's close with us.
So let's say, you're still early on, so this is maybe more hypothetical, but you've got someone who's been live on Acumatica for a couple of years, and you also want to stay engaged, right? Mm-hmm. Do you envision maybe selling some type of service contract to your clients where you're just it's gonna include a day a month, or yep, an onsite a quarter, or something, to be able to stay engaged and continue to you're going to be the pusher there to push them along a digital transformation journey?
Yeah, I do. I think that is what our plan is. That it is what we like to do. We want to have at least, an hour's engagement, whether that be used for project time, process time, or just relationship building. What do we want to talk about next? What's Acumatica coming out in the next version? What am I hearing in your industry? What are other customers doing? Again, that's beneficial to the customers to have those conversations. It's conversations that we as a customer wish that happened.
And doing a contract that way, like it's already paid for, and now you're incentivized. You're just, this is already a recurring expense for you. And now, okay, I know I have an hour or two that I need to use up, or it's going to be gone. Something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you're kind of signed up for it, you're more in a, you don't want to waste that money that you're spending on that meeting. So bringing ideas to that, as well as that's really, it gives us our chance to provide that value for you. Just like wouldn't want a customer to come unprepared. We won't be coming unprepared either. We want to make sure we're thinking about how we can advance your business. That's our job, right? In my opinion, it's not just to talk about Acumatica. It's what else can you be doing to increase your business? Is it with tools inside of Acumatica? Are you using a third party to do your finances when maybe, or doing your taxes when Avalara could be doing it for you and doing it more sustainably, right? Those are, right, would we make money off of Avalara? No, we wouldn't, but that doesn't, right? That builds the rapport between us, that we will come up with a solution that is provided inside of Acumatica that will create a leverage for the future. Again, it builds trust, it builds that relationship, which is where at the end of the day, if you want to be a successful company that makes money, it's always going to be about the people. The processes and the tools are the foundations, but the people are really what's going to determine how well you do.
And how about like add-on products? So I think Justin and I talked a little bit about this, but any thoughts on packaging up some, just, especially since you're in the developer world, packaging up things that could be resold in a sense, or is it more just we're services and we're just going to put all the code out there for free?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd be lying if I say we're going to give everything for free. But there will be, a lot of what we want to do is, so like for our own customers, right? Ones that, are a partner of ours. Yeah, we want to just pass that code along for free. If we've built it, we're not going to charge you for something that we've already developed. We're happy to share it with you. It's part of Acumatica in our opinions. It's even though we've built it and it might not be in the base Acumatica, it's in Acumatica because we already have it there for you. We're not going to bill you for it. If another customer that isn't one of ours is asking for that same thing, it is different, because right, there is value to that time that we've had to spend it. So yeah, we are in the last especially several months since we decided to go on this new voyage, breaking out some of that generic code that can be used again in multiple different sectors, that again would be a benefit to anybody. There's we've done great things in terms of barcoding and routing and making streamline some things, and that's not a unique thing to a market. That's universal. So we are separating them out to make them as packages. Some will present to Acumatica directly to see if they'd like to integrate, because again, we think that's very advantageous if Acumatica can take it on and integrate it directly. I know they are always of interest to it, which is again very appealing to us, especially again from a customer perspective. It was nice to know that when you voted on something that you wanted, that the vote mattered. That was a likely project to get in, put in for the next version. So it's always a very exciting day when those new versions come out, and seeing what's going to be on the docket for that one. So yeah, we have plans to reach out to Acumatica, as well as when we'll continue to post things in forums and communities about things that we're doing. When there is interest in it, those are discussions that we'll kind of take off on a one-off basis.
Well, sounds very cool. Definitely intrigued by this VAR / customer journey that you're on. Sounds really interesting. Wish you the best of luck. Be great to check back in. Maybe I'll see you at the upcoming summit and see how it's going.
You have to.
Yeah, I think I have to go this year. I skipped the last two.
Yeah, no, we will certainly be there. Yeah, we're very much looking forward to it. I appreciate all the kind words. I appreciate you having us on. And again, we're excited about being part of the community. We're excited to be kind of a new age VAR. Be that
New Age VAR. I like that term.
yeah, be that customer or reseller. Not only do I wear the wig, but not only do I sell the wig, but I wear one too. That old story. So yeah, we're looking forward to making a difference for the customers out there, and we're in a very blessed place to be able to do that.
Cool. Well, thanks again for taking the time, telling your story, and see you at Summit.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of AUGforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening, and take care.